In today's Leeds news, Under-21s in action, Leeds talks over Turkish Attacker, Leeds actively pushing for Brown deal, Farke open to Aaronson return, and Leeds and others want Diallo. Hiya folks, Jer here on Monday morning, the 18th of December with your Leeds United news. Hope you've had a decent weekend outside of the Leeds United results. They do their best to ruin the weekend for us. A week where Leeds dropped points which could have closed the gap on Ipswich considerably, with Ipswich coming up, which could have put Leeds in a situation to move into the automatic promotion spots. Not to be this week, just plenty of time left. The world's not on fire, we've got loads of time. There will be a podcast tonight, a match review podcast tonight to look at the game, what happened, and to chat with the others around what they think. I know it's not for everybody, so that's there for tonight. I'll keep it out of the news, but we'll crack on, we'll get into the news, and we'll start off with Under-21s. Leeds United Under-21s are back in action tonight after a positive midweek result in the Premier League 2 Cup. Tonight they will face Tottenham Hotspur in the league and Tottenham's Under-21 side in the league in a game that will kick off at 7 p.m. at the Lamex Stadium. The game is also live on LUTV. You can check that out if you want to get some Leeds hit tonight. They will look to try and kick on from that cup match and get some positive league results. It's been a bit of a dip since the change in coaching, but that's understandable when you change styles. But it'll be interesting and useful for Leeds to get back to winning ways today in the league. Moving on, let's talk about potential incomings, and I'm going to be very careful how I handle this one. Leeds have been linked with an attacker from a Turkish club. According to Fanatic, Leeds are attempting to rival Lazio for a move for Karim Aktürkoğlu in January. The report states that 25-year-old attacker, who's been in fantastic form this season for the Turkish club, has scored 15 goals in 27 games, and says that Leeds have been in consistent contact with the Turkish club around the possibility of doing a move for the player. The player is 4 games shy of 150, did score twice against Manchester United in the Champions League. The Turkish club are now in the Europa League after dropping out of the Champions League. The player has a contract until the summer of 2026, and it's said that any kind of a deal before then will be unlikely, with the Turkish club unlikely to want to sell the player before the end of this season. A move for the player who, with 2 years left on his deal, will be possible, but there could be a considerable charge here for the player should Leeds decide to bring him in earlier, but it's very unlikely that a move will happen this side of the January transfer window. It appears that rumours floating around transfers see Leeds looking at two different things. They're looking at the short term in terms of the January transfer window, but they're also planning for summer moves as well, maybe getting their ducks in a row early to make moves when the moment happens in the summer. So interesting one. I understand the comments that will come in on this one. Please try and keep them relatively sanitized, because they'll just get removed by YouTube straight away for guidance. So you can be outraged in a different kind of way. But if you if you say anything involving swear words or anything like that, it's just going to be immediately blocked and removed from the page. Not by me, but by YouTube for their guidelines. So be careful. You can be outraged all you want. Put in the comments. Carefully say it, okay? Leeds moving on. Leeds are also looking at other players. And last week we talked about the possibility of Leeds looking at high potential fullback Archie Brown. Archie Brown playing for Ghent, an English left back playing for Ghent, has been in impressive form this season, has plenty of clubs interested in him. However, we did say last week Archie Brown is on his second club of this season, having moved from Lucerne over to Genk, and can't play for more than 2 clubs in one season, so this will be 2026 again. But it seems Leeds are looking further down the line for potential left back cover or bolstering the left back position, stating Daniel Farke stating already last week that Leeds will be looking in the market for a left back in January. Archie Brown has been called one of the most promising left backs in the world right now. There is huge interest from Everton, Burnley, and a potential of German clubs being interested in the player as well. They did buy him from Lucerne for $2.5 million. The report claims that multiples of that $2.5 million will be needed in order to get the player to come in on a permanent move. But again, as I said, this is something that would look into the summer and not something that will be done for January. I wouldn't expect a lot of January news to start leaking out. Leeds have been very good at keeping things quiet. Summer stuff is slightly different because you got to do a lot more exploratory talks a bit earlier if you're trying to get your ducks in a row. So there could be something in that. These two definitely look like they're more summer potentials than January. Moving on to things that would upset Leeds United fans in January, and the possibility of Brendan Aaronson returning to the club was discussed last week, and according now to reports in Germany, it states that Daniel Farke will be open to the American international returning to Leeds United in January. Initial reports stated that had Aaronson returned to Leeds, he will be loaned straight back out. That's not 100% clear, and it's also not 100% clear on Daniel Farke wanting the player back as well. These are rumours and reports from Germany, but what it does say is that there are talks between the manager and the club and Leeds planned, and Aaronson planned over the next coming weeks before the window opens in January. Union Berlin are said to be keen on cancelling the deal as they look to bolster their squad, having dropped out of the Champions League and really struggling at the bottom half of the German Bundesliga. They will need to free up some space to bring in new players in their squad to try and save themselves from relegation. Something Brendan Aaronson saw first hand with Leeds last year. It looks like there could be a potential of it coming back to Leeds, whether Leeds then decide to loan the player out for the second half of the season or take him back in remains to be seen. But there are apparently talks planned for next week to see what happens. Those talks could be about bringing him back, but they could also be about Leeds saying to the player, look, we're going to loan you again, we're going to talk to your agent and see what options are out there for you. So I wouldn't jump on that one just too early. There's possibilities there. An exciting deal that could happen in January, and Leeds have been loosely linked with, is a move for Manchester United attacker Amad Diallo. Diallo was on loan at Sunderland last season, where he scored 14 goals and had 3 assists. This season he was expected to go out on loan again and possibly back to Sunderland. Leeds were tipped as making a move for the player in the summer as well, before he got an injury that has kept him out of the bulk of the season this year. Manchester United are now saying that the player has recovered from his injury issues and will be available for loan come January. Team Talk claimed that Leeds United, amongst other championship clubs, are very interested in the player, Sunderland being a number 1 candidate interested in the player. Leeds do want a number 10. They did make late moves for Nadiem Amiri from Leverkusen, which didn't work out. That player has also been linked as a potential to come into Leeds again after he removed some of the people that gave him bad advice during the summer about the move to Leeds. He hasn't played very little games for Leverkusen so far and could be on the move as well. But around Diallo, it is said that Leeds will be very interested in the player as Leeds look for alternatives for the number 10 role. For the games they need him, Joe Pereira does a nice enough job in there at times, but when it's a low block and it's not working, you want to have other options to bring off the bench and change the game, and Leeds will be looking for that. Leeds' priority positions in this January transfer window will be left back and potentially number 10. They possibly could do an extra centre backs cover as well, just based on how Daniel Farke is using the centre backs at the moment. It'd be interesting to see that one as well. And as I said, Leeds were linked to the player in the summer as well, and a likely move. Although if Daniel Farke wants a player to come in sharp and fitness, he might not get that from Diallo. He's talked before about players coming in and being ready to go. That'll be something to keep an eye on as well. But he's a good player, had great form last season, scored some really, really good goals, is a tricky player. Not a huge amount of assists for number 10, but does create chances as well. Be something for Leeds to keep an eye on over the next couple of weeks. We're really close to it now. We're 2 days away from the 20th. That's the rundown into January. Then we get over Christmas and we'll start seeing things moving. And the 1st of January could be a very early window for Leeds and then getting quiet afterwards, or Leeds could bide their time and try and get the best deal that they can. For me, given the situation Leeds are in right now, trying to close that gap, Leeds need as many games as possible to close that gap on the top 2. To do that, I think Leeds need to move quickly on their moves, but that's just my thoughts. Let me know in the comments what you think about January. Should Leeds move early? We know it's going to be a quiet enough window. We know it's going to be primarily loans. Do you think Leeds move early? Do you think Leeds move in the middle of the month or late in the month, or leave it till deadline day? Would love to know what your thoughts on that as well. As I said, I'm back tonight with a review of the weekend's game against Coventry, and I look forward to the game against Ipswich coming up as well. Have a great day. I'll talk to you later. See you. Bye.